the trans community has been making misogynistic jokes about TERFs without any pushback from the broader left for like a decade or more.
But okay.
I want to start this segment with a little bit of a disclaimer. This segment is going to make a lot of people angry.
Well, how does that distinguish it from your normal output?
No doubt plenty of people outside of my audience and inside of my audience. Now, what I ask is, should you see my take towards the beginning of the video and find that you disagree with it, all that I ask is that you do your best to watch the entirety of my video and hear the entirety of my arguments. And
yeah, so that you don't fuck him over with the algorithm. Because the algorithm does take into account what percentage of the video people actually stay there for.
See the entirety of the evidence to support my arguments that I have to put forward. I'm going to be making some pretty spicy statements and having some pretty spicy takes in this stream. Takes that I feel very strongly
that's a shock. I mean, usually he's so reasonable and measured, and his arguments are so well-founded.
Now, this all technically goes back to about a week ago now.
What you said, I mean, Phoenix. Not what he said. That.
Now, I'd say it's been roughly a week. Yeah, I did a whole video on the inciting events of this drama. Technically, you can go back and watch that. Basically, Vaush made a misogynistic joke about billionaire and one of the largest public figures on the earth, as well as one of the most wealthy women on the earth.
No, first of all, it wasn't a joke. I mean, that wasn't a joke. And second of all, it was actually not... It was not about her. It was not about J.K. Rowling. It was about... He just said women in general. It wouldn't have been better if it had been about J.K. Rowling, because it's still misogynistic bullshit and it helps no one except his own fucking ego. But let's just be clear, it was women in general that was directed at.
J.K. Rowling, in response to her transphobia, saying that she could have just shut the fuck up and could have been unanimously loved for, centuries.
Which is not the bit that anyone was pissed off about. I think a lot of people... I mean, he's not even the first person I've seen who has expressed that particular sentiment. It's true. If JKR had just not decided to just do the TERF thing, chances are people would, a lot of her fan base probably would never have questioned all the other problematic shit that's in those books. I mean, she completely, by opening her mouth and, deciding to go all transphobic and everything, she really just shot herself in the foot. Her legacy is absolute shit. That's not the bit that anyone is pissed off about. I don't think. I haven't seen anyone pissed off about.
And then said, women, be quiet and apologize more, which is a reference to the women be louder and stop apologizing slogan, like the very common feminist slogan. And, it's pretty obviously a joke. Like, if you're not...
Yeah, not really. I mean, it wasn't... It was just a misogynistic remark.
If you're not fucking insane, it's a joke. Like, if you know that, if you know any of Vaush's political opinions, then it's a joke, okay?
Well, I mean, his political opinions are a joke. I mean, I was just watching him explain... just last night, I was watching him explain why neoliberalism is such a good thing because it means economic freedom. And coming from a guy who claims to be some kind of socialist, he is just such a complete joke.
Now, I'm not arguing to defend the joke here, okay? If you think the joke was distasteful...
Oh, well, let's see how long that lasts.
...and harmful and that Vaush shouldn't have made it, then... by all means, that's your opinion, and I don't give a shit if that's what your opinion is. That is not...
Well, yeah, you see, he's not going to defend the joke, but he thinks that you are literally mentally ill if you see anything wrong with the remark, but he's not going to defend it. God, he is so dishonest.
My issue with anybody or anything in this drama. Vaush tweeted out this joke at about J.K. Rowling, and J.K. Rowling quote tweeted those joke tweets from Vaush and tried to use them as an argument in favor of the very common TERF narrative that the pro-trans movement is misogynistic and hates cis women.
And, well, there you go. Vaush, that's exactly... Vaush gave her the opportunity to do it, and either he doesn't know anything at all about any of the stuff that he talks about, which admittedly is a plausible hypothesis. He really doesn't seem to know a whole lot. He knows how to sound like he knows things, unlike Xanderhole, who never sounds like he knows anything. But either he doesn't know shit about anything, or he knew perfectly well that this was actually giving a gift to JKR. Yeah, and see, I don't even buy that he has the best intentions. I mean, how the hell could you possibly think that tweeting out a just blatantly misogynistic remark in relation to J.K. Rowling was going to help anyone except for J.K. Rowling? And of course he has said transphobic shit in the past. I mean, he does not really stand for anything except, well, he seems fairly consistent on being racist, but he doesn't give a shit about any of the rest of this.
Now, J.K. Rowling is notorious for quote tweeting and screenshotting, and normally she screenshotted Vaush because Vaush can defend himself online. J.K. Rowling
He doesn't do a very good job, though. He just lies. Anyone can do that.
Tweets small trans accounts that she wants to send her audience to attack. Now...
Yeah, it was sort of like Vaush does.
I could just go ahead and say that, like, the trans community has been making misogynistic jokes about TERFs without any pushback from the broader left for, like, a decade or more at this point.
Except that, no. What the hell did he just say? Okay, so his non-defense of Vaush's misogynistic remark is to just throw the entire trans community under the bus? Yeah, let's see some fucking citations there, would you?
Hell, the most common meme I've seen thrown around trans circles is that one Sonic meme. Hey, One Piece 34, I know you have it. You know the one TERF shut the fuck up Sonic meme? Send it to me.
That's not misogynistic. It's not misogynistic to tell a bigot to shut up. I mean, there's nothing misogynistic about that. Yeah, TERFs should shut the fuck up. I mean, it's no different from saying shut the fuck up Fash or shut the fuck up Vaush. That's not misogynistic. That's just a valid point that bigots need to shut the fuck up. And TERFs aren't even all women. In fact, some of the most dedicated one are cis men.
I know you have it. I know you have it on your, like, at your disposal very quickly, One Piece 34. I want you to send it to me.
Who gives a fuck? This doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Oh, there it is. Came up immediately. Oh, and what subreddit did it come from as well? Oh, from the LGBT subreddit it came from. Let's go ahead and take a look at this meme and see how much worse it is than what Vaush tweeted. TERF is a slur to...
Okay, there's nothing misogynistic about this. There is literally nothing misogynistic about this. This is ridiculous. He doesn't want to... He's literally... There's nothing... All this is TERF's claim that TERF is a slur. Because they don't like... Just like racists don't like having their racism described. You know, they don't like it that there are terms to describe the things that they believe in, as Thought Slime said a few weeks ago. And so they pretend to be really mad about the term TERF, even though it accurately describes, I mean, more or less what would actually be even their self-identification for the most part. Telling TERFs to shut the fuck up is not misogynistic, actually. I mean, this is just some transphobic bullshit. The only people who would claim that this is misogynistic are fucking TERFs.
Silence you? Damn, I wished it worked. Shut the fuck up. So, this meme is in
Tell us what's misogynistic about this meme, please, Xanderhole.
response to TERFs, who are mostly cis women, saying that TERF was a slur designed to silence women. And
First of all, I would question whether they really are mostly cis women. There are a whole lot of seriously sketchy cis men who are in those circles.
saying, I wished it worked, shut the fuck up, woman. This is a notorious meme passed around in trans communities, and it is without a doubt a sexist joke.
No, it really isn't. TERF is not a gender, you fucking dickhead. TERF is not a gender. There is no gender called TERF. It is a political opinion, and a political opinion that sucks shit. It is saying that TERFs should shut the fuck up. You know, it is just like it isn't misandry, as if that existed, to say that Xanderhole should shut the fuck up. That's just a valid demand that Xanderhole should shut the fuck up. And also, yeah, it does not say shut the fuck up, woman. I mean, if it does, it's cut off in the crop. It does crop off, I think, a little bit before, but it is. But yeah, there's nothing misogynistic about this. And the fact that he is actually trying to find a way to call this misogynistic, I mean, that is a serious little nod to TERFs there. That is a serious dog whistle.
It is a misogynistic joke. It is playing ironically off of the false narrative that TERFs have built up that the trans community is sexist.
Well, no, it is built off of the false narrative that the TERFs have brought up, built up, that the term trans exclusionary radical feminist is a fucking, is a slur to silence them. That's why it specifically says at the very top, TERF is a slur to silence you. That's why it says that, Xanderhole. It does not say anything about women, cis women, or women in general. It just says TERFs. What in the fuck? Okay, you're right. He is so telling on himself here.
And nobody cares. The only reason anybody lost their shit at Vaush over this is because he's a cis white guy who
said something misogynistic, who said that all women need to shut up and apologize more. He did not say TERFs. If he had said TERFs, people would be okay with it. I mean, if he had said TERFs and not women, everybody would have been cool with that. TERFs would have been pissed off, but nobody gives a shit about TERFs. Fuck TERFs. I don't care about TERFs' feelings. I just hope that they don't feel good.
The left has convinced themselves and the thinking is straight. Because that is what it is, by the way. Like, Vaush is gay, but like the left basically pretends he's straight. Like, you'll see posts on Twitter of people saying he's like straight presenting, or you'll
okay. This is literally the first I've heard of it. And this has nothing to do with anything. He is a misogynist. He's a prick. I don't care who he fucks. No, I'll say that, let me make some reservations. I do care to the extent that I don't want to fuck him. That would just be really annoying. Yeah, I mean, and also, this is the first I've heard of anything. I've never heard anyone talking about Vaush's sexual orientation. People talk about the fact that he sucks, that he says things that suck. I mean, like, seriously, what the fuck has this got to do with anything?
see people on Twitter saying he has like the straight aura or straight energy or whatever. Like they'll unironically.
Well, I mean, he does. I'll say that. I mean,
pan is a type of gay. Like they'll unironically like gatekeep Vaush's gayness because it's inconvenient to allow him to.
Oh, how the fuck are we? That's so cute that you've changed the. This has nothing to do with anything. He's just changed the subject. He's just completely changed the subject after just asserting that it is misogynistic to specifically say that you want TERFs to shut the fuck up. And not actually explaining how anything about that's misogynistic, in order to let Vaush off the hook for saying something that actually really was misogynistic. And now he's just talking about Vaush's sexual orientation. Like, who gives a shit? I have to say, Pan always makes me hungry. It always makes me think of pizza.
To be part of a marginalized group when Vaush bad. That really is what it is. Let's not pretend it's anything else. I know that I'm like out here white knighting for a friend of mine and fellow content creator, and I really don't care about any like accusations of white knighting because what I'm saying right now is completely true, and I'll defend it. The left,
unlike the claim that it's misogynistic to tell TERFs to shut the fuck up, which you did not defend. You did not make any argument in favor of that. You just sort of changed the subject without ever just asserting that it was true. I mean,
loves gatekeeping people from being part of a marginalized community whenever it's convenient, okay? Literally, Cat Black, the original drama she got into back in the day was for calling another black creator who disagreed with her on race politics an Uncle Tom. That was what originally fucked up Cat Black's reputation back in the day.
Okay, now we've just completely switched around. I mean, what the fuck has this got to do with anything? First of all, honestly, I'm not too familiar with Cat Black. Yeah, would you I get the impression that you probably are more familiar. Would you say that this is at all an accurate description of how whatever drama he's talking about, which I'm not familiar with, originated? Because I'm totally unqualified to comment because I've seen Cat Black on Twitter a little bit. Seems to generally say things that I like, but I've never actually really engaged with her much beyond that. And I don't know anything about this drama he's talking about, including whether this drama he's talking about exists or has anything to do with anything we're talking about here. Yeah. Okay.
She called a fellow black creator she disagreed with a slur. And Uncle Tom is a slur. I don't think it's a bad enough slur that a white person can't say it, like the N-word, but it is.
I'm so glad we get to hear which slurs. First of all, that's not... See, there's a difference. See, this is part of the annoying thing about the slur discourse. Because generally, the issue, a lot of the time, it'll be sort of phrased in terms of this thing is or is not a slur. Like, there was the whole thing around gusanos, whether that was, and whether gusano, a term that refers to far-right, white, upper-class people in Cuba who threw their toys out of the pram and fucked off to Miami when they were no longer allowed to engage in literal slavery. See, they said that they, and it was all phrased in the issue is this a slur, is this not a slur? I mean, a slur fundamentally is an insult for a member of a particular group. It could be, and not necessarily an ethnic group. I mean, fash is meant to be insulting for fascists. At least I hope it's taken as insulting. Otherwise, we need to come up with a better name for them. But... the issue that the real issue there is whether it is a slur against a marginalized group and therefore an act of oppression to engage in. So, like, slurs that could be directed at this dickhead, for example, and there are a few, that one could think of are not targeting a member of a marginalized group. They're targeting a member of a marginalizer, really. That's not the same thing, even though you could say they are slurs. They are insulting terms for a member of a particular group. So this whole discourse just gets completely derailed around that shit. So yeah, you could say, Uncle Tom certainly is not meant to be a nice statement, but the way he's using the term, slur, he's suggesting that either it shouldn't be used, or he's saying white people should be able to use it. And honestly, I don't think that, this fucking bleached sheet here really needs to be opining on that subject. Yeah, that's a good example. Although I think, actually, I don't think I've ever actually seen the color of dried jizz, so I don't know.
Is without a doubt a slur, okay? And I have talked to people of color who told me the history of this word and exactly why it is so racist and why both white and black lefties need to stop saying it. Because it is a slur and it is racist.
Oh, wait, okay. But you were just saying that it was one that was okay for white people to say, Zan. That was what you just said, like, half a minute ago.
And like, it should not be, saying it, but like, using it as an insult towards people of color who disagree politically is completely inappropriate. It is not, it is something that
this is totally the guy to be lecturing people about black internal political discourse. This is totally the guy who should be sticking his head out the window on that subject. Mr. X-Nazi, but not really all that X.
Very normalized on the left, but there's an obvious amount of hypocrisy in that, right? Especially when you consider
you mean sort of like claiming to care about misogyny and then turning around and saying that it's misogynist, that's claiming to care about trans rights and then saying it's misogynist to tell TERFs to shut up? You mean that's kind of that kind of hypocrisy?
The fact that right now, I'm never mind. We're getting a little bit too lost in the sauce here. Oh yeah, she also told a suicidal 14-year-old trans girl to kill themselves. Yeah, like Kat Black posted some posted a message about like a pretty pro-trans, being trans is great message, and then this 14-year-old trans person responds like, I literally want to kill myself because I'm not cis. I can't get access to trans affirming care, and I want to die. I'm probably going to kill myself. And kind of trauma dumping a little bit online.
God, see, I don't know whether any of this stuff is actually true. Yeah, I've not heard it either. That doesn't mean anything because I don't really follow Cat Black that closely. But, even if every single word he says is factually accurate, he's not the person to be wiping his ass over two people's trauma that he doesn't fucking share on his fucking monetized reactionary bullshit stream.
But 14-year-old trans person, you'd expect the adult in the situation to either ignore the message or just
ignore the message. Okay, assuming that it is actually assuming every bit of this is true, ignoring the message seems like a horrible fucking idea. I don't know that I actually have a great response to it, idea about what to do if you receive such a message, but ignoring it seems like really a pretty shitty response.
Maybe have an adult response. Do you want to know what Cat Black's response to that message was?
And we have the screenshots, right, Zan? So we can know for sure that you're not making all of this up?
Write me into your will, kid. And this was in 2019. Late 2019. This was
Okay, well, so he is clearly looking at something, but he doesn't want to show us.
November or December or something of 2019, not not too crazy long ago, and I didn't even hear about this. I was a lefty content creator making content when that happened.
Yes, he really does not need to be complaining about content creators not being 100% tactful and mature at all times. Definitely not, because he's never either of those things. He's just a prick.
Happened, and I didn't even hear about it. And do you want to know why I didn't hear about it? Because if ContraPoints, or if Vaush, or if or if anybody who isn't, you know, basically who doesn't have like an okay letter from the online left, or most of it on Twitter, then absolutely the same behavior would have resulted in a massive Twitter-wide cancellation.
Okay.
Me, or hell, anybody else who the online left has decided they don't like had done it, right?
Which is really cute, considering that he and Vaush unleash racist dog piles against leftist content creators all the fucking time. And, of course, the thing is, we only have his word, and his word isn't very good.
But because Kat Black did it, and the online left seems to be pretty cool with her, it doesn't really seem to be a problem. And we're going to get into that in a moment. We're going to get into the double standards of the online left plenty later on to the stream, and
and see, I bet we're going to end up with some fucking reverse racism shit before this stream is over, because he does like the reverse racism shit.
Gonna get spicy.
When he goes on PragerU to do his video about how the left left me, that's what it's going to be about, how he just couldn't stand the reverse racism on the left.
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, my heart. I'm having actual fucking heart palpitations because I'm so excited to talk about some of the things we're going to get to in this stream. Oh, boy.
Yeah, so the whole idea here is he's literally, all this is him finding ways to change the subject so he doesn't have to talk about the misogynist shit that Vaush did and what a big favor it was to TERFs.
Oh, my lord. This is going to be good. All right. Basically, Vaush's tweet at J.K. Rowling and J.K. Rowling's subsequent screenshotting of it resulted in both TERFs and the entire online left dogpiling Vaush for misogyny.
Well, because he said something misogynist. That's not... Yeah, people criticized him. That's not the same thing as when Vaush lies and says that somebody who is an anti-racist actually supports genocide because they're against colonization. That's not the same thing. Vaush said something misogynistic and people noticed it and people went and told him that it sucked. Like, I mean, what was he expecting? To be fucking congratulated? He said something that sucked.
Actually amazing how much the online left sucks. It's actually amazing how much of a massive dick the online left sucks. The fact that, like, we had the opportunity here with, like, some of the largest mainstream news media outlets in the world watching an interaction between a YouTuber who is pro-trans.
Well, that's open to interpretation. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he incites all sorts of dog piles and then he lies about it and pretends that he's shocked that the people that his fans go and mob the people who he smears on his fucking stream.
And the largest author on Earth besides, I guess we decided maybe Stephen King is bigger than her, who has currently been using her monumental platform to spread hate and bigotry. And the entire online left decided to get together and use this as an opportunity to dunk on Vaush because Vaush bad, instead of using...
No, because Vaush said something fucking misogynistic. It turns out a lot of leftists, not as many as you'd hope, but a lot of leftists actually kind of have a problem with misogyny. We don't like it.
Using this as an opportunity while the media is looking to fucking flood Twitter and all of the replies to J.K. Rowling's tweets with dirt on J.K. Rowling, with studies and articles and statements from medical professionals debunking claims J.K. Rowling has made to...
Yeah, what the fuck? So what he's doing is saying that instead of talking about how Vaush is misogynistic, leftists should have... I mean, first of all, but I don't think most people realized that the media was going to take an interest in this bullshit until after they already had, and the moment had passed. So that's already bullshit. I mean, J.K. Rowling gets into shit online all the time. It doesn't always end up in a fucking Vice.com article. But, so the idea is... So when would have been a good time, Zan, to talk about how how your boy was a misogynistic prick?
Screenshots of harassing tweets meant to foster hate mobs against individual people J.K. Rowling has done. This could have been an opportunity.
So you were doing that stuff, right, Xanderhole? Since you're saying that the online left should have done this, you were right in there doing this stuff, right? With your huge-ass platform.
Opportunity for the left to expose the broader world to the actual shit J.K. Rowling has done. Because, hey... Do you guys know what the vast majority of people think J.K. Rowling did that has the left hating her right now? They heard what Dave Chappelle had to say about the J.K. Rowling thing. That's probably where they heard about it. Dave Chappelle's the Dave Chappelle Netflix special, where he goes on about how, like, he's a TERF, he's Team TERF, and he's all on board with J.K. Rowling. That's how most people think J.K. Rowling got canceled. They think she's canceled because she says they think she's canceled because she said biological sex was real.
Okay, here's the thing. That wouldn't have been the first thing that a lot of people saw in it. I mean, who knows how many people saw the Dave Chappelle thing, but J.K. Rowling's transphobia has been in and out of the media for like 4 or 5 years now.
That's why the broader public thinks J.K. Rowling got canceled. Instead of the online left taking this
and here's the other thing that's so ridiculous about this. The idea is that if you flood a thread that a journalist might be looking at, that their like journalistic reflexes will immediately require them to write about the stuff you put in there. Like, that's not how journalists work. Because otherwise, you'd have nothing but, like, factually accurate articles debunking TERF talking points. The thing is, which, I mean, you get a fair bit more of that here than you do in Britain. Fortunately, in Britain, it's just absolutely off the hook. But, I mean, so he's thinking that if you flood the thread with stuff that journalists have probably already seen and either care about and have reported on, care about and can't report on because their bosses won't let them, or don't care about and won't report on it because they don't give a fuck. I mean, this is an absolutely pointless thing, and just a way to get around just saying, yeah, Vaush said something misogynistic and he shouldn't have.
An opportunity to make it so that the world knows what J.K. Rowling actually said and did that got her canceled.
Welcome to capitalism, my dude.
Instead, they took it as an opportunity to make the one person who's basically acting, Vaush, who's acting as the trans side of the argument in this, which is true. J.K. Rowling...
No, he's not the one person, and that was not the trans side of the argument. That was the misogynist side of the argument. It did not help trans people.
Screenshotted Vaush. He is the pro-trans side of the argument in this discussion. Instead,
no, he isn't.
You decided to play into every pro...
God, this is just electoral... This is like some bizarre electoral politics bullshit in a context where it isn't electoral politics. There is no requirement in this context to either back JKR or Vaush. You can say fuck both of them. Because neither of them are the only people representing their respective side of the argument. Even if we grant, for the sake of argument, that Vaush is in fact the pro-trans side of anything, which is questionable, seriously questionable. But I mean, this is wild, because the thing is, we're talking about this is something that happened on social media. Literally anyone can jump in and be the pro-trans side of the argument. It doesn't have to be anything to do with Vaush. And aside from that, what Vaush did actually was harmful to trans people and was just misogynistic. Even if it weren't also harmful to trans people, it was just misogynistic in general to cis and trans women. Note he did not specify cis women. He didn't specify TERFs. If he'd specified TERFs, nobody would be complaining except TERFs. He said women.
Transphobe, every pro-TERF stereotype and argument, and do everything that you can as the online left to make the pro-trans side of the argument look like a pedophilic misogynist to the...
Okay, first of all, you're the one claiming that the pro-trans side of the argument is Vaush, the pedophilic misogynist. Well, I mean, okay, don't know if he actually is, but he certainly very much... he certainly has a lot to say in defense of pedophiles, and then to lie about later. So, that doesn't necessarily... I mean, including one saying that sexual abuse of children might be good for them. So, yeah, you're the one who is saying that we should let that prick be the trans side of the argument. And the thing is, if we did what he said... then all the TERFs could actually then say, see, look, this guy who's supposedly on their side or whatever said some seriously misogynistic shit. Yeah, why aren't they calling that shit out? And that would not actually look good, and it would also just be the wrong thing to do. Sometimes you just do things because they're the right thing to do, Xanderhal. It's not all about fucking optics. It's not all about monetizing shit. I mean, the last Xanderhole thing we saw, he said something about how he makes sure never to say anything that Nazis would find disturbing or offensive on his streams, and he's definitely keeping that pledge right here.
Broader public. That is what the online left did. They did everything in their power to try to prove the transphobes and the TERFs right, that the pro-trans side...
No, they didn't. They proved the TERFs wrong by calling out misogyny. What do you think? I mean, does he really think that the media, especially the transphobes in the media, would not jump at the opportunity to say, wow, leftist YouTube personality Vaush said some unquestionably misogynistic shit, and wow, all those pro-trans feminists didn't say a thing about it. That doesn't really speak highly of them, does it? I mean, that is obviously where that would end up going. And I'm not arguing on the optics, but he's the one making it about the optics, and his argument for in terms of the optics makes no goddamn sense. I mean, literally the only correct thing to do in that situation was to say that what Vaush said sucked, because what Vaush said sucked. I mean, he really tells us a lot when he goes through his thought process on these things, because clearly every single thing he does is about keeping up appearances in one way or another. He is very clearly only interested in working out, what the best angle is from a PR standpoint, and just such bullshit. He does not... I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And then he accuses other people of doing exactly that. I mean, this is like all he's doing. He's just a fucking... And he's not even really good at PR because he makes himself look like an asshole. Which he is, so I mean... but the idea of PR is that when you are one, it's a secret. Okay, and we're 2 minutes before 1, so we're going to be wrapping up this week's stream weekend. Yeah, I mean, where's the... None of this is to do with solidarity. I mean, except in the sense that he wants everybody to stand his asshole mentor here. God, I can't believe... I'm still reeling from the fact that he claimed that Shut the Fuck Up TERF is misogynistic, and he just sort of let that hang there. That is a literal TERF argument that he just made, and he did not even attempt to... He didn't acknowledge that, and he didn't even attempt to provide some kind of explanation for why it's true. He just crapped that thing out on the table, and we're all supposed to just sort of pretend it smells nice. And with that, it is time to wind down for the week. Yeah, thank you for recommending this to me. I mean, God, he really told on himself many, many times in that. But, God. Yeah. And I wish Bad Empanada would just not do as many videos that suck, because he does so many really good ones. And it's just so awkward. Because he does so much, he does so many just, when he does good stuff, it's some of the best stuff that anyone on left-wing YouTube is doing. And then he does shit that's just, I mean, just fucking cringe at best. Yeah. Well, hopefully putting this stuff out there kind of helps that conversation come along. And with that, it is time for me to bid good night. Thank you for joining us as always. I've had a very good time, and I think I'm going to have to go have an aneurysm after watching this fucking thing. Jesus Christ. So, good night. Have a good rest of your weekend. And thank you for your local Maryland knowledge.